Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. Today's guest on Better Than I Found It is Baylor golfer Daivs Ovard. Daivs has had a really great freshman year that he just finished a month or so ago, but has also had a very eventful summer session of tournaments. One of them culminated in actually getting to spend some time with Tiger Woods last week at the U.S. Junior at Oakland Hills in Michigan. He tells us all about his freshman year, about the experiences that he's had this summer, including also winning the North-South Amateur in Pinehurst. He's had a great summer, but I think you'll find out a lot more, especially you Baylor fans, about who Daivs Ovard is. He's a humble kid, but with a great competitive attitude, and actually a pretty funny kid too. I think you'll enjoy listening. Okay, Better Than I Found It faithful, please welcome to the podcast current Baylor golfer, Daivs Ovard. Daivs, I know you're preparing for this upcoming week's Western Amateur in Ohio, so I know you're busy, so thanks for taking the time to meet with your golf coach.
Yes, sir, of course. I mean, I'm happy to be on here. I don't really think I had a choice. I'm glad to be here.
Let's get one thing straight. You did not have a choice. When I asked, you had to say yes.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not that much of a tyrant. I'm truly not. But you know what? We're going to talk about your freshman year here in a moment. But you've had a pretty eventful summer. I mean, like very eventful. I don't think you could have mapped it out this way. I don't think it would have been mapped out this way. But I have a lot I want to cover today about that. But your experience last week at the U.S. Junior, which was really interesting. I want to talk about that. But let's get to your freshman year in Baylor. You played a few events as an individual. You didn't play particularly well for you in the fall. You played every event on the team in the spring. You played 12 total stroke play events, averaged 72.7, had a couple of top 10 finishes. You had a couple of top 5 finishes in individual events, but in the actual tournaments for the team, a couple of top 10s. I'm going to assume that you accumulated a whole lot of valuable experience. But I want you to give yourself a grade, A, B, C, D, F. What do you got here?
I'll give myself a, let's say A minus.
Okay. So you felt like it was somewhat successful, but it could have been better, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I felt like the spring was pretty successful. The fall definitely could have been a lot better. And then I also felt like I could have done better postseason. But yeah, I would say it was a good first year for sure. But.
Yeah, well, honestly, in recruiting, I knew I had a good player, and Cameron McCormick, who you've worked with for years now, told me that you were going to be one of the very few diamonds in the rough in the modern day because of technology. It's hard to be a diamond in the rough anymore, but he felt like you were going to break out in college and be a really good player. I believed him. I trusted him. And he told me the same thing about Jordan Spieth, although Jordan was not really a diamond in the rough. But he did say that he thought you were going to surprise people in college golf. I think you did that a little bit this year for sure. I don't think you surprised me, but it was a pleasant opening to your career. Your struggles you had in the fall, you handled them beautifully. Your upperclassmen teammates were giving you a hard time. You just kept smiling. Just kept smiling. Guys, I'm going to figure this out eventually. And you did. But I want to know, do you have a best memory, something that stands out from your freshman year that might have been something that you'll remember forever?
Yeah, I just think it's not really golf specific, but I just think traveling with the team in general was really fun. I mean, I'm gonna miss all those seniors who left. They made my first year really special. And so I'm gonna miss them for sure. But like traveling to Palm Springs as a team together, Hawaii, like just traveling as a full team was really fun. Staying at the McNeely's house in Palm Springs was a lot of fun. Was probably my favorite tournament besides Cabo. But yeah, just traveling with the team is just probably my favorite memories just because it was really nice to get introduced to a team like that. And, we're going to have a different team this year, which will be really fun. But yeah, I'll definitely miss those 5 guys that we lost.
Well, that's a good grade for those seniors, those 5 seniors we lost. They all obviously they've got to give a freshman a little bit of a hard time,
Yeah.
but I think you were a master class in how to handle that, getting a little ribbing, if you will, from upperclassmen, because the kids who fight it really hard just get more of it.
Mhm.
And you didn't fight it. You kind of just smiled and put your head down and continued to work, and you got better. And honestly, by the time we went to the match play at Houston Oaks, I saw a different Davis Ovard. You looked ready, and I walked with you all 5 matches, and we lost to Texas in the finals, but you were right there on the last hole with a chance to keep your match going, and so was Johnny. We didn't end up winning that day, um, but I think you showed him a lot that I'm here. Don't overlook me, but I do think you handled uh, being a freshman quite well, if you will, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything that you can remember from your freshman year that you learned from a teammate, like you're going, wow, that was pretty cool? Because I mean, obviously, you had some experiences where you learned some things this year. Is there anything from a teammate?
Yeah. I would say like just in general, when you get to college, like as a freshman, you still have like those junior golf tendencies where you want to, whine and complain. And, I feel like junior golfers are just, they throw fits compared to in college golf. You don't really see players do that as much. You mainly see it in junior golf with players getting upset. And so Johnny, he, I think I was just, we weren't even on the course. We were just hanging out. Um, and he told me, he was like, when I first got to school, he was like, yeah, I used to whine a lot. And he was like, you're getting better at it now. He was like, you just, you can't do that in college. And so it was just kind of getting rid of those junior golf habits of just whining and complaining, instead of just putting your head down and, um, just playing good golf and not, throwing a fit, not complaining about it. And so, yeah, I mean, Johnny helped me with that. He kind of told me straight to my face that I was doing it. Um, but yeah, that definitely helped me play better. Because it's just like no one wants to hear you whine. No one wants to hear, oh, this putt lipped out. Like, oh, I almost made birdie here. Like, no one really cares. And so, I mean, everyone has those moments, and so that no one wants to hear it. But yeah, that was probably one of the main things I learned.
Doesn't surprise me. Johnny would say that. I mean, he was a great leader. Not always that vocal, but a lot of times it was just his work ethic that made him a great leader. But really glad to hear that he told you that, because it was something I noticed, and as I was walking with you a little bit from tournament to tournament, I allowed a little bit of the fire, because that's part of what makes you a really great competitor, is you do have some fire. But every once in a while, I had to rein you in and get you to settle down, and that's part of the learning process. And you did a great job of doing that. By the time we walked together at nationals, I mean, you're ready to play golf, and now I realize that golf course beat you up pretty good. It beat a lot of people up that week, but you did great. I'm glad you learned something from a teammate. Your biggest surprise of your freshman year, meaning I wasn't expecting that out of the college experience.
Um, yeah, I would say first thing was like how busy we were, just straight out the gate. I mean, right when you get to school, it's just like you gotta, I would say honestly, we were busier the first few weeks of school than we were for the rest of the year, just because you have all those meetings and you have to go see the trainer and all like compliance meetings and all this stuff, like right when you get there. And so that kind of caught me off guard, when I first got to school, because like I was like, I didn't have any time to really like settle in or anything. It was just straight to meeting people and practice and all that. Which I mean, you expect the practice and the workouts and all that. But it was definitely different just because there were a lot of meetings and people that I had to meet, before school started or before we started traveling and all that. So that kind of caught me off guard, just when I first got there. But once you settle in, I mean, it's just school and golf, and that's pretty much it.
That is pretty much it. When I saw you in junior golf, I saw you as a kind of a quiet kid. I still think you're not loud and boisterous. You're not, But I think your teammates did a good job of bringing out the personality that you have. And I was told that that would be the case before you got to college, and I hoped it would be. But you have a great personality. You have a great sense of humor too, and we saw that, and that's probably why you enjoyed traveling so much with your teammates.
Yes, sir. I would say Pato is the thing for that. We got along. I mean, we hit it off as soon as we got there, and we got along great. And yeah, I mean, you could kind of see our personalities starting to come out at the same time, just being there for a few weeks. But yeah, he was probably my closest friend on the team, obviously being a freshman and all,
Mhm.
and living together. But yeah, I mean, living with him was huge. I mean, I think if I was living by myself, it would have taken longer for, me to, show my personality. But
Sure. Well, we talk about a good year. We finished runner up in the Big 12 Match Play Championship. Had a couple other high finishes. We won the Aggie Invitational as we were getting ready to head off to postseason. Um, but postseason was pretty exciting. Whispering Pines, you were literally in about eighth, ninth, or 10th place with about 6 holes to play, just playing beautifully, and got kind of a not a bad break, but it just not a very good finish of a 5 iron you hit on 13 that ended up in a hazard. Then you hit the wrong ball. And I mean, that kind of derailed you for a couple of holes. Talk about that experience and how it's going to make you better going forward.
yeah, I would like to say that, I learned my lesson and that it won't happen again. But I did actually, it's funny because I did hit the wrong ball in qualifying once. Um, so that did happen to me.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was I don't know if you remember, it was on the first hole at Cottonwood. I hit Sam's ball instead of my ball.
Now I
Uh,
remember that. Yeah.
so I made a bogey instead of a birdie, I think it was. But I mean, I definitely learned my lesson. Like even now when I'm playing tournaments, if I'm in the rough or whatever, or if I didn't see my ball land, I will literally like look down until I see my specific marking. Because like there at Whispering Pines, I saw a blue line and I was like, okay, this is mine. Which it was the wrong blue line.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
your ball, we found your original ball about 2.5 feet away, so it
yeah,
wasn't like you were in the wrong spot. You were right where it was supposed to be.
yeah. Just the wrong blue line. But yeah, I'm glad it happened there. Instead of, further down the road at regionals or nationals. Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, I would have been right there, kind of close to top 10 if that didn't happen. But I mean, it ended up not hurting the team, which I was fine with. I was fine with it hurting my score, just I didn't want it to affect the team.
I remember walking down the 17th fairway. You were still not quite over it yet. You were still a little bit upset, I
Hmm.
think. Maybe, maybe not. But I do remember telling you, you need to finish with a birdie and a par, and I think we can finish fourth instead of fifth.
Yes.
And you just shifted gears immediately, hit a beautiful wedge in there about, or 9 iron, maybe about 12 feet, made that putt for birdie and made a great par on 18. So I'll credit you for, you're very coachable and you're coachable in the moment too. If a coach talks to you, I like that. Where'd you learn that?
Um, I don't know. I just think, I don't know, growing up with Cameron McCormick, when I was younger, like when I was like 8 years old or whatever, he was kind of, I wouldn't say he was hard on me, but I was a little kid, so I thought he was being hard on me. He made me cry a couple times.
That's it,
Um,
Cameron.
yeah. So, I mean, kind of from a young age, he kind of showed me like he wasn't gonna, be nice to me or anything. Um, but yeah, I mean, partly that, and then I don't know, just getting to know you. Like, if I know you well, it's easier to take advice from you. Like, if I just met you and then you start telling me how to do stuff, I'm not gonna listen to you. Um, so I mean, getting to know you more over the year definitely helped with that.
Well, I think that's actually a good lesson for young coaches.
Mhm.
Before you get too strong with your advice or too strong with your discipline, you need to earn the right to do that by actually having something invested in the player, getting to know them, getting in the trenches with them for a long period of time. Which by the time that came along in April, late April, you and I had already had 8 months together, so that was good.
Yeah.
Um, what's one thing you wish you'd have known coming into college that would have made that transition a little easier? And we'll finish with your freshman year right there.
Um, I mean, I think the big answer that everyone says is time management. Um, I think, I think everyone says that for a reason. It is different than high school for sure. Just learning to balance, school. It's a lot more homework, obviously, so it takes time away from practice if you don't manage it correctly. Um, and then also, I mean, you still want time to hang out with your friends and the team outside of the golf course. So, I mean, you got to balance that too. Yeah, just finding the right time for everything. Um, and then also, like I said, the junior golf tendencies, those are kind of hard to get rid of, but it's, I mean, you have to if you want to play good in college. I was just talking about this with my mom the other day. Once you get to college, no one cares what you did in junior golf. It kind of just goes away. Um, and so, like, if you show up to college with a good junior golf career and you think, I'm just going to play right away, that's just not how it works. And on the other hand, like, if you had a bad junior golf career and you show up to school, no one cares. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, this kid was bad as a junior, so he's not going to play here. Like, no one's going to think that. You just got to go get a spot and play, and, no one really cares about what you did before.
There's a reset at every level. Johnny Kiefer obviously played very well for us. He was a second team All-American this year, and 3 times he was named All-American. He's gone out on that PGA Tour Americas and just played beautifully. And it has nothing to do with that All-American status. It's he's having to re-earn everything. It's another reset for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. Good answer. I like that. You know, I mentioned earlier you had quite an eventful summer. One of the most eventful things that happened to you was winning the North-South Amateur. It's one of the 7 elite amateur series events. It's one of the long time standing, one of the greatest tournaments in the history of amateur golf, period. It's with the Western Amateur, the US Amateur, British Amateur. It's up there. It's a big event. And not only did you win, but you beat a really great player on his home in his backyard. And that was Jackson Van Paris. He's a great player. I've watched him play a lot of golf. Talk about that week before we head up to the U.S. Junior, which I really want to hear about as well. But talk about that week in Pinehurst.
Yeah. I mean, it was a super fun week. I mean, going into it, I just was thinking, just played 2 days of solid golf, getting the match play, and then everything resets. Yeah, and then I shot at 66 the first round, and I was one back of the lead going into the second round. At that point, like, I wanted to win medalist. I was like, okay, like, I want to win medalist. And so going into number two, I kind of just told myself to focus on making pars. You know, if I just make a lot of pars, I'll be close to medalist and I'll for sure make match play, which ended up, I did not make a lot of pars. Um, I kind of struggled, made some mental mistakes, shot. I mean, I kind of, I played bad, but those final 2 or 3 holes, the final 2 holes, I had to get up and down from some tough spots to make 2 pars to stay in the playoff. Um, and I kind of knew that, but yeah, so I finished the round fine to get into the playoff, and then made it through, and just started going on a roll in match play. I mean, first round I played the fourth seed, who actually got second, but there was a tie for second. So he only lost by one to the medalist. So he was playing really well, and I just ended up playing good and beating him. And then, so first 2 matches I kind of cruised through, and then after that it got really tough. My let's see, my quarterfinal match was against Jace Summy. Um, he had me, I think I was 2 or 3 down to him at one point. I was 2 down going into 16, made like a 20-footer for birdie there, and then we tied 17, and then I birdied 18 to go in the extra holes, and then I beat him in the 20th hole, I think. Um, and then next round semifinals against Jack Turner, I was 2 down with 4 to play, and then I ended up being 1 up going into 18. I won 3 in a row. Um, and then finals against Jackson, I was 2 down through 7 holes. So I was down in a lot of my matches, but you know, I just told myself to just keep pushing, keep giving myself birdie looks, and it would work out. But it was a really fun week. I mean, playing with Jackson, he's such a good player and he's such a nice guy. I mean, he's a really cool, fun guy to be around. But yeah, being from Pinehurst, he had the whole home crowd with him, watching, which was, it put a little bit of pressure on me just because I knew these people weren't there to see me. They weren't there cheering for me. And so I kind of just told myself, like, I'm gonna have to upset these people. I'm gonna have to make them not very happy. But I just played my game and just gave myself looks, and they started going in on the back nine. So
Yeah, the thing I noticed watching, because it was live streamed on YouTube, so I got to see every shot of that back nine. That once your putter gets hot, it's kind of fun to watch. As a coach, it's very fun to watch, but as a spectator watching that on YouTube, I really enjoyed, because I knew those putts were going in, or they were going to scare the hole anyway. Uh,
yeah,
that's what you want this week at the Western, that putter to get hot again.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with those greens, you can't really force your shots to get close because if you force it, you're gonna make more bogeys. Your ball's gonna roll off the green to a tough spot. And so I just um, favored the middle of the green and just tried to give myself 15, 20 footers, and then I started making them. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So if we fast forward just a little bit, or actually go back in time, I remember a point in time when I asked you in the spring, hey, the U.S. Junior is still going to only be 18, even though you will have played a year of college golf. And
Yeah,
and you were a little hesitant at first,
I was.
because you thought, gosh, I've already played 1 year of college golf. How am I going to go play the U.S. Junior? The U.S. Junior, since they changed the age limit back in 2017, has nothing to do with what class you are. In
Hmm.
2017, when they played it in Kansas, there were four kids in the field who had played a year of college golf already, and two of them had won a college golf tournament, and they were playing in the U.S. Junior. So I had no hesitation. I thought this could change your life. And so it didn't take much of work to get you to say, yeah, I need to play in the U.S. Junior.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it'd be weird, going back and playing with juniors with the college bag and all this stuff. But I'm so glad that I played. Obviously, I got the opportunity of a lifetime that I'm sure
Well,
you'll bring up
let's
in a
let's
second.
talk about that. You got to play with Tiger Woods' son. Now,
Yes.
because of NCAA rules, I'm not going to talk about his son, and we're going to talk about Tiger Woods today. Okay. Um, you were fortunate you got to play a practice round with his son, so you kind of got the newness of that whole experience off, and then you played the first 36 holes. So talk about everything you experienced with Tiger, because it would be like me having done the same thing with Jack Nicklaus in 1977 or 8, and I couldn't even imagine that at that point. So talk about Tiger.
Yeah. I'm so glad we got to play that practice round. Just adjusting to because I mean, he's got so much security around him that it's kind of a lot to adjust to. I mean, everywhere he goes, he brings a crowd with him, obviously. And so it took a minute to adjust to it. Yeah, the practice round was probably the most fun round of golf I've ever played. He was just, I mean, he was just I mean, he's a dad, so I mean, he was just walking in the fairways with us, helping out his son learn the course. And I mean, I was just walking down the fairway with Tiger Woods, talking about golf, and I was putting on the greens with him, and he would put his phone down for the hole locations, and I was putting the Tiger Woods phone. I was like, what am I doing? This is, this is unbelievable. But it was so much fun. I mean, and also he's a lot nicer than I thought he would be. He was super nice to me and my parents. He talked to my parents a lot. Like they were chatting. My mom became friends with I don't know what her role is. I think she might be one of his managers or something. But my mom became friends with one of his friends, and so they were just chatting it up the whole time. And I mean, it was unbelievable to know that Tiger Woods knows who I am now. Um,
Well,
but
by the
yeah,
way, your mom mentioned he asked something about his college coach and something, and she said, "Yeah, it's Mike McGraw." Anyway, Tiger Woods called me old. What
he
was he
did.
doing?
He did call you old. Yeah, I don't remember how you came up, but you did come up, and yeah, he called you old. He said you were really old. Which I think I said something about you being old school. And he was like, yeah, he's just old, uh, which was funny. Yeah, I mean, he said a lot of good things about you.
Well,
But we
tell me
just weren't.
this, because I would have killed to be 18 years of age playing with probably the greatest golfer who's ever lived. And people from my generation hate hearing me say that. But honestly, he had more skills than Jack Nicklaus. He had to beat more people than Jack Nicklaus. So, and I don't want, that's a whole nother podcast. But you're walking with maybe the greatest player of all times, possibly.
Yep.
Is there anything that you learned about playing practice rounds? Anything you learned about how to approach a tournament that he may have taught you, whether he meant to teach you or not? Anything that you latch on to?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk about how to approach a tournament just because, I mean, he was there to give advice to his kid, obviously, and I didn't want to get in the way of that. But we did talk about the course a little bit because I asked him, I was like, you've played here, right? And he was like, yeah. He said it was a lot different though when he played it because they redid it. He said it used to be tree lined, now it's not. There's barely any trees out there now. But yeah, and then we talked about the rough too, because that rough was brutal. It was terrible. And so I was telling him about how, in Texas, I mean, he lives in Florida, so he has the Bermuda too. I mean, we don't, Texas and Florida, we don't get that rough. I mean, it was really sticky and long and not fun. But yeah, we just talked about the course. He didn't really tell me much, about practice rounds or the tournament or anything. I mean, he did have a really good idea of where the pins were going to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure everywhere he threw his phone, there was a pin there. So he was really good at that, knowing where they were going to put the pin. I mean, he has won three of these, so he did know, what they were going to do. But yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, he was super nice, and I had a lot of good conversations with him.
Was he everything you expected that he would be, or anything more or better, or what?
Um, yeah, he's kind of like he was nicer than I thought, and then he kind of has no filter. It's kind of like when you hear about him, talking with players or I don't, I can't say stuff that he says
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's not good language. Um, but just like he doesn't really have a filter, and what you kind of hear him talk about on TV and stuff is kind of what he talks about in person, just with more language. But yeah, he was super fun. And yeah, I mean, like I thought he'd be kind of quiet, not really come up to me at all, but he was coming up to me every hole. He asked me like what my major was in college. I was like, it just caught me off guard. But he was asking me about just random stuff, and he was a lot more talkative, and just like a normal guy. I mean, pretty much just a normal dad, pretty much.
Well, Alan Bratton, who was my assistant at Oklahoma State, is now the coach at Oklahoma State. Uh, Always talked to me about how Tiger, once he felt safe within the group that he was in, that he was like one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to be around, and he was very, very friendly. And so Alan got to know him pretty well in college. Competed against him for 2 years, or for 1 year actually. Tiger's freshman year was Alan's senior year, and he said he was a great guy. So I think you just have to appreciate the fact that he's probably the most famous golfer of all times, and he needs to kind of surround himself with a little comfort level because it's just that wild. It was like a circus, and that's the most people you've ever played in front of, correct?
Oh yes, yeah. The practice round, I mean, there were people watching, but not a ton. And then the first round caught me off guard. It was a lot. It was like 500 people probably. But the second round was unbelievable. We took off in the afternoon on the south, and I mean, it was a tour crowd. I mean, probably 1,000 people. It was unbelievable. I was like, what is going on here?
Well,
Um,
can I say something? You shot two under on Oakland Hills South with the pressure of trying to make the cut with all those fans and with Tiger Woods in your gallery. That's a pretty good experience for an 18-year-old kid.
yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, first few holes, I was nervous. I was like, this is really weird. But I mean, once you kind of just settle in and relax, you're like, this is so much fun. It was insane to
Well,
just
I
play
need
in
you
front
to
of that.
take that experience back to La Costa next year. And when you're playing in front of fans at La Costa, I need you to be ready for that. How about that?
Yep, I will be.
Okay. Well, thanks for telling me about the experience with Tiger. I know it's something that you'll never forget and an opportunity that I'm so glad that you had it. That's wonderful. But this week is another good opportunity. You're playing in another Elite Amateur Series event, the Western Amateur at Moraine Country Club in Dayton, Ohio. Do you know anything about Moraine Country Club at all?
No, not really. I have a yardage book and that's pretty much it.
Okay. So practice round is tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I'm gonna go out there and practice today, and then I'm gonna play tomorrow.
Okay. Grueling week, 72 holes, stroke play, top 16 go to match play, 4 matches to win the title. I mean, you want to be absolutely worn out on that last day with the last putt. I hope you're there. How about that?
Me too. I hope so too. Yeah. I
Absolutely. Well,
mean, the North South and the Junior M. I mean, it's the same format pretty much, just with more stroke play here. But yeah, I mean, I've had some good prep, um, especially with the whole transition from stroke play to match play. But I mean, this one's going to be really tough to make match play, and I know that going into it, just because it's top 16. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I can do it. Just
well,
play good golf.
I'm always telling you guys, you're good is good enough, and good golf travels. It's like if you play well up there in Dayton, you're going to have a chance to make match play. If you can get to match play, you have a chance to win. So I would just say repeat what you did at the North South, and that'll do you just fine. Um, Not getting ahead of ourselves, but because of that great North South victory, you had an exemption into the USAM. You
Yes.
didn't even have to go through the qualifying, which is an amazing opportunity. It's at Hazeltine this year, which Hazeltine has a lot of history. It was a new golf course, relatively new, when they hosted the 1970 U.S. Open,
Mhm.
and it was kind of a young golf course, so it had not yet matured. And boy, they had a lot of rough, and scores were really high. Jack Nicklaus, uh, Arnold Palmer, and Lee Trevino, I think all shot around 78 to 80 that day, first round. It played tough.
Yeah.
We played the national championship there in 1999, and they actually grew rough for us at the national championship in 1999. It was tough.
Yeah.
The third hole is a dogleg left par five, and the rough was such that if you missed the fairway, you weren't getting there in three because you could barely advance it back to the fairway. And it was over a 600-yard hole.
Yeah.
But a wonderful championship golf course. You're playing one this week. You just played one at the U.S. Junior. You played one at Pinehurst, and you played really great championship courses in postseason. So you're ready for that for sure. But it is a different field. It's even more challenging than the Western Am. That's how good a field it is. So that's great.
Yeah.
Um, so
Um,
tell me about how you're approaching this week and then obviously 2 weeks later the USAM.
yeah. I'm just, I had a good second day of stroke play at the junior shooting 2 under on South was, I mean, I just played super steady. I don't think I missed a fairway. And just, I think I didn't miss a green until the last 2 holes, that round. Just, I was playing super steady, just giving myself looks. Um, and then match play, I played fine. It's just, the guy I played against played really well. He shot 4 under, I think. So, I mean, he just played better. I mean, I didn't play bad, but he just played better. And so I mean, I know I'm playing good, so I'm just going to try to take that momentum into this week and just keep putting myself in scoring position, give myself looks. And yeah, I mean, I learned a little bit from last week about the rough here up north. So I kind of know how to play that better now. And then, yeah, I mean, I actually have been to Hazeltine. I went there in 2016 for the Ryder Cup, to
Great.
watch. But I mean, I was like 10 years old, so I don't remember it that
Yeah, well,
that much.
it's a wonderful golf course, and last fall you didn't play in at Olympia Fields where we will play this fall. So hopefully you're there at Olympia Fields. We start in Minnesota at Windsong Farms, which is a wonderful golf course. Northern golf is a little different. That
It
grass
is.
is a little tougher, and you saw that at Oakland Hills, obviously. But we're going to leave on September 6th. Classes start on August 26th. So
Yeah,
schools, right? You're going to come straight from that USAM back to school. You know
I
what the
am.
biggest difference is going to be this year?
What?
You won't be a freshman anymore.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I feel like Zach might try to remind me that I'm still young, but
You know, Zach Heffernan, he'll be our lone actual fourth year senior on the team. And he gave you a hard time all year long. And at the end of the year, I asked him, I said, Zach, do you like Davis? He said, I love the kid. He's awesome. But he needed to remind you, you were the underclassman, you were the freshman, right?
yeah, he gave me some hard moments, but yeah, I mean he's I mean obviously I love him, but yeah, it was he'll probably try to remind me that I'm not an upperclassman yet. I mean even though I will be, I mean I won't be one of the older guys, but I mean we got five freshmen, so I'll be you know around the middle, um, so I won't be the young one anymore. But
No, and I want you to remember, just to help these freshmen we have coming out, how they gave you a hard time, but they were nice to you. So be nice to these freshmen, would you?
yeah, I'll be nice to them, but they'll still have the freshman duties that I had.
Absolutely, and they as they should. Well, Davis, I appreciate you spending 45 minutes with me to kind of recant your freshman year and then all the excitement you've had this summer. But it's not over. You've still got two very, very big golf tournaments. So get some rest this evening and go out and learn as much as you can about that golf course tomorrow and go a long way in this Western Am.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I mean, I know that I'm playing good enough to do it, so I think I can do it. Yeah, that's the goal.
All right, we'll stick 'em Bears.
So,